Hello dear student. So today I will teach you the fabulous poem The Snail, which was written by William Cowper. But before going to the text, I will teach you about the poet. Cowper continued his education in Westminster School. After moving from one school to another, he had written numbers of anti-slavery poems. He was a good friend of Newton, who was a good friend of Newton, who was a devoted anti-slavery campaigner, and he got influenced by Newton and wrote one of his fabulous poems, The Negro's Complaint, which was written in 1788, and this great poet died on 25th April in 1800. Now I am going to the text and I will tell you it both English and Bengali, okay, and explain it line by line. So look at the board. To grass or leaf or fruit or wall, ঘাসে পাতায় ফলে বা দেওয়ালে, the snail sticks close nor fears to fall, as if he grew their house and all together. ঘাসে পাতায় ফলে বা দেওয়ালে, the snail sticks close nor fears to fall. শামুক দৃঢ়ভাবে আটকে থাকে, পড়ার কোনো ভয় থাকে না। অ্যাজ ইফ হি গ্রিউ দেয়ার, যেহেতু সে সেখানে বড় হয়েছে। হাউস অ্যান্ড অল, বাড়ি এবং সব কিছু টুগেদার, একসঙ্গে। ইন দিস স্ট্যাঞ্জা দ্য পোয়েট এক্সপ্লেন্স অ্যাবাউট দ্য গ্রাস, লিভ, fruit to be birthplace of snail, because the snail is found sticking closely to grass, fruit or leaf with any fear of falling down. The outer shell of the snail is like a protective house and if cannot be separated from its shell. The poet also explains that the snail can never be separated from its house. In the second stanza, we can see that within that house secure he hides. সে বাড়ির মধ্যে নিজেকে লুকিয়ে রাখে। when danger imminent betides, যখন বিপদ আসন্ন হয়। of storm, ঝড়ের, of other harm besides of weather, অথবা কোনো ক্ষতিকর আবহাওয়ার কারণে সে নিজেকে লুকিয়ে রাখে। In the second stanza, we can see that the poet beautifully explains it. Within that house secure he hides, সে নিজেকে বাড়ির মধ্যে লুকিয়ে রাখে। when danger imminent betides, যখন সে বুঝতে পারে বিপদ আসন্ন। of storm, ঝড়ের, or other harm betides of weather, এবং অন্যান্য আবহাওয়ার ক্ষতিকর আসার আশঙ্কা দেখে। In the second stanza, the poet explains it very beautifully. The snail is seen to hide and protect itself by shrinking into its shell, which is a protective place for him. Whenever the snail feels or smells in danger, the snail immediately retreats back into its shell. In the third stanza, the poet explains it very beautifully, and I tell you that give thou but his horns the slightest touch, অতি সামান্য স্পর্শ দাও। His self-collecting power is such নিজের সংযত করার ক্ষমতা এত বেশি যে হি শ্রিঙ্কস, সে গুটিয়ে নেয় ইনটু হিজ হাউস, তার বাড়ির মধ্যে, উইথ মাচ প্লেজার, বিরক্তির সহিত। ইন দিস স্ট্যাঞ্জা দ্য পোয়েট সেজ দ্যাট দ্য স্নেল says horns and tentacles which helps to taste and sight. Just third stanza, the poet explains about the tentacles and horns of the snail which help the snail to have the sense of sight and taste. The poet also shows how sensitive the snails are, because with the slightest touch by strings into his shell, the poet also shows how sensitive the snails are, because with the slightest touch the snail shrinks into his shell. If someone touches its strings or horns, it is a discount for the snail, and also he moves into its shell. Okay. In the fourth stanza, the poet says that the snail lives alone, it wants no company, it is self-sufficient, he has nothing but his personal belongings, he has his shell and his body, and the snail is satisfied with it. It is happy to dwell alone with no relation to him. Here in the fourth stanza, the poet describes that thus hermit like his life he leads. সে তার জীবনটা সন্ন্যাসীর মতো কাটাতে চায়, or হারমিট লাইফ, সন্ন্যাসীর মতো তার জীবনটা চালাতে চায়। নো পার্টনার অফ হিজ ব্যাঙ্কুইট নিডস, কোনো সঙ্গী সাথী তার প্রয়োজন হয় না ভোজনের সময়। অ্যান্ড এবং ইফ হি মিটস ওয়ান, যদি কারোর সঙ্গে তার দেখা হয়, অনলি ফিডস দ্য ফাস্টার, কেবলমাত্র সে তাড়াতাড়ি খাওয়া শেষ করতে চায়। In the fourth stanza, the speaker represents a hypothetical scenario. The speaker describes the snail leads his life like a hermit blissfully. The one who tries to long for the snail must be worse than a blind. Now I can go in the last stanza. The poet explained it that who seeks him must be worse than blind. যে তাকে খুঁজে বেড়ায় সেও অন্ধের চেয়েও বেশি। হি অ্যান্ড হিজ হাউস আর সো কম্বাইন্ড, সে এবং তার বাড়ি এতটাই সংযুক্ত যে ইফ, যদি ফাইন্ডিং ইট, খুঁজে পাও, হি ফেলস, সে ব্যর্থ হয়, টু ফাইন্ড ইটস, খুঁজতে, মাস্টার, সে তার মালিককে বা প্রভুকে খুঁজতেও সে ব্যর্থ হয়। ইন দিস স্ট্যাঞ্জা the speaker describes about how the snail leads its life despite having no family, having no friends, and having no dear ones. The snail has only food to eat, that also when he gets some. It carries its life like a hermit. The snail wants to lead his life like a hermit, but rather than the human beings, the snail would not be able to see his family or anything except darkness in his life. So I want to stop here. Thank you everyone, and see this video and like and share more and more. Thank you, class and everyone.